before I start, just a quick orientation. Take whatever fits, leave whatever doesn't. So I work out 4 to 6 days a week, and I've been lifting for more than a decade now. In the gym, it's just work. It's no longer about self-image, comparison. There's no sense of performing anything. It's mostly just presence and execution, precise, deliberate, isolated. And that's what I've been noticing. What it's like to do something consistently for years without needing to be someone because of it. I spend a lot of time watching people in the gym. That can sound judgmental when you say it out loud, but it doesn't really feel that way from the inside. At first, there's an automatic internal commentary. You see someone lift, and your brain starts clocking things. Bar path, balance, range of motion, little inefficiencies that stand out once you've been around it long enough. But it's not charged. There's no emotional hook to it, and pretty quickly, that attention turns back on me. I start explaining to myself why I wouldn't lift like that, what I'd need to adjust if that were my movement, what I'd need to stay aware of so I don't drift into the same habits. That shift happens fast. The moment it turns inward, other people more or less disappear. My focus tightens, I get more locked in, and the work gets quieter. And it's important to say, I wasn't just watching to criticize. A lot of the time, I was watching to learn. If I saw someone doing something that caught my eye, a movement pattern, the way a muscle contracted under control, the way they stabilized weight in a position that looked different from mine, it usually meant there was something I didn't understand yet. Sometimes I couldn't tell why they were doing it. Sometimes I wasn't even sure if I'd ever use it myself. But curiosity kicked in. I'd realized there was a gap in my knowledge, and that gap mattered more than whatever I was already good at. So I'd go ask. And honestly, I've rarely run into someone unwilling to share. There's no guarding, no posturing, no sense of protecting secrets. Just people explaining what worked for them, what didn't, what they tried, what they'd stopped doing. A good portion of my development came from that. Not from asserting what I knew, but from being neutral enough to ask. When I asked, the posture was always the same. Curious, open, and ready to learn. I wasn't trying to become them. I wasn't trying to match their physique. I wasn't trying to be seen as anything. I was just watching, learning, and deciding what fit my process. That curiosity did something important, though. It stripped things down. It pulled attention away from identity and towards mechanics. The work became cleaner, more precise, and less noisy because of it. When it's working, the workout doesn't feel expressive. It feels like execution. Presence and execution. Precise, deliberate, isolated. There isn't much narrative running alongside it. I'm not thinking about what this says about me. I'm not tracking how I compare. I'm not building a story in my head. Ego drops out. Comparison drops out. Self-image drops out. What's left is control and attention. Early on, identity did have a role. There was a little gym bro community, a little collective. And that mattered at the time because belonging helped with my consistency. Showing up with the boys helped me get in the door. And it gave me momentum when everything was still new to me. But as I went deeper into bodybuilding, that started to change. The appeal of hanging out faded. Doing the same 4 lifts over and over stopped being interesting. My focus shifted. Precision started to matter more than social energy. Knowledge mattered more than appearance. When I started training with people beyond my level, people who were already where I wanted to be, the environment changed. The conversations changed. The standards changed. It stopped being about how much weight you could move and started being about how well you could control it. That shift exposed how much I didn't know. enough that I started reading books about training outside of the gym. Not to prove anything, just because my questions kept expanding. Somewhere in there, along all that process, the gym became me time. It wasn't for hype or performance, it was just work. I stopped caring too much about where I was in physical development because I knew it was going to take time. And I got comfortable with that. Some days, motivation wasn't really there. There wasn't some emotional drive pushing me. I'd drink a pre-workout, which would force me to go and burn it off. There was nothing else I could do. It was nothing dramatic. Just discipline and expertise were absolutely a part of building me to where I am now. They're real, they mattered. But while I'm actually doing the work, they're invisible. They're inputs, not labels. While I'm lifting, identity just isn't a part of the experience. I started noticing the same posture show up elsewhere, not in the gym, but in thinking. For me, thinking turns on when there's a problem. I learned a long time ago that complaining about a problem is pointless, but actively figuring out a solution, that's different. That's where my attention goes, because efficiency matters to me, effectiveness matters to me. I like problem solving, and I do carry an identity there. I've been paid for it, trusted with it, and relied on for it. When I started my first business, working as a consultant, businesses literally paid me to develop ideas, strategies, workflows, operating procedures. So in that space, identity doesn't drop out. It stays because it's functional. When thinking is working well, the internal movement is familiar. Your focus narrows, pressure builds, by my own choosing. There's a sense of urgency, but it's directed. Then, when the problem is solved, the pressure disappears. Everything goes quiet. So the payoff isn't the solution itself. It's the silence that comes after. Same posture as the gym, just a different pressure profile. Where things get messy is when identity re-enters a space that was operating cleanly. This is something I run into with management and business owners. Over time, I observe. I learn how a system works, and then I see inefficiencies. Eventually, I can usually see a more efficient way to do something. Most of the time, it's heard. But when I'm met with resistance, not because the idea is flawed, but because it didn't originate from them, something shifts. Identity floods the room for me. Ownership, ego, stubbornness, and that drives me up a wall. Not because I need credit, but because precision just got replaced with noise. It's the same disruption, just in a louder setting. That contrast clarified something for me. Identity isn't bad, and it isn't good. It's contextual. In the gym, identity interferes with execution, so it falls away. In thinking and problem solving, identity can be the tool, so it stays. The problem isn't identity itself. The problem is dragging it into spaces where it doesn't belong. When the work becomes quiet, when the presence and execution take over, calling yourself something doesn't add much. It just adds pressure that doesn't need to be there. And when identity drops out, nothing collapses. The work still gets done, often cleaner. So when something in your life runs best without a label attached to it, what are you actually protecting by keeping one anyway?